Have you ever really thought about how the super rich make their money last? I'm not talking about for a decade, I mean for centuries. Well, it turns out it has almost nothing to do with just leaving a giant pile of cash to their kids. Actually, a lot of the time, they do the complete opposite. So, what's the secret? We're about to dive into the incredible financial architecture that keeps these legacies going.
This quote right here, it just nails the biggest fear the ultra-wealthy have. It's this idea that a whole lifetime of work, of building something amazing, could just be, poof, gone in a few years by an heir who's just not ready for that kind of responsibility. It's that old saying, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. And they have figured out an absolutely brilliant way to break that cycle.
And that's really the core question, isn't it? Why not just write a will, call it a day, and be done with it? Well, it's because a simple handover is a massive, massive risk. It leaves the entire family fortune wide open to bad decisions, to divorces, lawsuits, you name it. To protect a real legacy, you can't just hand it over. No, you have to build a fortress around it.
Okay, so the foundation of that fortress is this completely revolutionary idea about ownership itself. What if I told you that for the mega rich, the person who inherits the fortune never actually owns the fortune? I know it sounds impossible, right? But it's probably the most crucial piece of this entire puzzle.
This slide just breaks it all down perfectly. With a traditional inheritance, on the left, one person gets the whole shebang, the ownership, the control, and the benefit. It's a simple package deal. But on the right, with this modern wealth architecture, those 3 things are surgically separated. The heir only gets one piece of the pie, the benefit. Let's quickly define these pillars so it's super clear. Ownership is just the legal title, whose name is technically on the asset. Control is the power to make all the decisions, like should we sell this stock or should we buy that property? And benefit? Well, that's the fun part. That's getting the money, enjoying the lifestyle that the asset provides. By splitting these up, you create this incredible system of checks and balances. So, how is this separation of powers actually enforced? Well, estate planners use what they often call a 7-lock system to build out that financial fortress. You can think of it as a whole series of legal and financial tripwires, each one designed to protect the core assets from any possible threat, including, and this is the wild part, from the heir themselves. And that number, 7, it isn't just random. It represents a defense that has multiple layers. It's not just one wall. It's a series of consecutive, reinforcing legal barriers that make it almost impossible to actually touch the family's core wealth. So what do these locks look like in the real world? Well, here are a few pretty common examples. You have things like spendthrift clauses. We'll get to those in a second. You have incentive distributions, which might only release money if an heir, say, graduates from college or keeps a certain job. And absolutely crucial is having an independent trustee who controls the assets, someone totally separate from the heir who's benefiting from them. Let's see how a lock like this really works, because it's genius. A spendthrift clause does 2 amazing things. First, it stops an heir from saying, hey, I get $1 million next year, so I'll sell you that right today for $500,000 in cash. Can't do it. Second, it means if that heir gets into a bunch of debt or gets sued, creditors can't come after the trust's money. The assets are legally untouchable. But this entire system, all these mechanics, they're all built on top of a really deep philosophical shift. It's about changing the very definition of what it even means to inherit wealth. Think of it like this. It's the difference between being given the entire tree and only being given the fruit that grows on that tree. See, the ultimate goal isn't a one-time thing. It's not about moving a number from one bank account to another. The goal is to pass on a self-sustaining system, a financial engine that's going to keep producing value, theoretically, forever. And this slide just illustrates that perfectly. The old way, the handover, is like giving someone the tree itself. Sure, they get the immediate value, but they also have the power to chop it down, sell it, or just let it die. The new way, the pipeline, makes sure that the tree, the core asset, is protected inside a trust. The heir never ever owns the tree, but they get a lifetime supply of all the fruit it produces. So, this brings us to the really complex and, the very human side of all this financial engineering. Is this system truly about creating a legacy that lasts, or is it something else? Is it a gift, or is it a golden cage? Because when you look closer, you start to realize the architecture isn't just protecting money. It's actually designed to project the founder's values far, far into the future. By controlling how the money flows using things like those incentive trusts, you can encourage or maybe even enforce certain behaviors, careers, and lifestyles for generations of people you will never, ever meet.
And that leaves us with the final and I think the most essential question here. Is this incredible system the most responsible way to protect a family from the destructive power of having too much wealth? Or is it just a way to maintain control long after you're gone, taking away the freedom of future generations to make their own choices and their own mistakes? It's something to think about.